What are you the god of again?
Welcome back to God of Crits. Today we are talking Rime of the Frostmaiden, Icewind Dale. We are going to be talking Destruction's Light and Sunblight. And chardalyn. So, major spoiler warning, this is for DMs only. It is a peek behind the DM screen, kind of a series where I tell you what I changed, what I kept when it came to this chapter of the book. If you're a player, do not watch this. There is gigantic spoilers you do not want spoiled for you. If you're a DM, go ahead and stay, or even if you're just curious about how I ran this. We're going to dive right into Sunblight, Destruction's Light, how to prepare, what to do, what I did and I wish I didn't do, and what I didn't do that I kind of wish I did. So, starting number one, something that I think I did a really good job of that the book doesn't really explain to you is to set up chardalyn and set up the Duergar. Obviously, there's quests for the Duergar, but I like to set up chardalyn just as much as the Duergar. I think chardalyn, if played right, could be one of the biggest intrigues for your party. Most of my parties thought that this was the main quest, as in like end game main quest, like the key to our world type thing. And that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted them to feel like this was a big moment for Icewind Dale, a big moment for the 10 Towns, that something was looming on the horizon. And I did that through a couple of ways. One, I changed chardalyn a little bit. I took away the chardalyn madness that the book has. It has a pretty decent mechanic that you could totally run right out of the book and you wouldn't have any problems with it. But I decided I was going to make it almost an active, conscious metal, kind of like a living metal. And I'll tell you kind of how I stooped that in the lore a little bit. Again, spoilers, but you find out later that the Duergar in Sunblight Fortress here is named by the name of Klondor, has kind of been playing Sunblight slightly, and he's been playing Sunblight on the behalf of Asmodeus, the leader of the ninth layer of hell. Oh, what a crazy, awesome plot twist. I loved this. Asmodeus doesn't really play a part in this story other than like, hey, he's got his fingers in all of these pies. When you look at all these different modules, he's always kind of scheming a little bit. And that's why I like Asmodeus, but I like the idea that he's in this ever so slightly. And what I did is, this metal, whenever my players got near it or touched it, they would hear voices in their head. Actual voices. If you're doing this over Discord or maybe Roll20, the way that I did it is I would send a message to the person, to the individual person saying, hey, you hear a voice telling you this. Normally the voices would offer them power in return for a dark deed such as, hey, slay your party member next to you, or hit them with a mallet and I will grant you with powers. If the character, and then I would often make them make a charisma save. If they failed horrendously, like 1 through 5, I would probably say, the voices take over your urges and you're gonna swing on this person. Maybe roll for initiative 1 or 2 rounds of combat, and then say they remake the save every round and they'll be fine. Nothing catastrophic, but enough for them to go, oh crap, maybe we shouldn't touch this. And then I baited them with a +1 longsword that was made out of chardalyn and said, here, take this. But there's going to be some downsides to it. This was awesome. I think most of my groups really enjoyed the give and pull of, all right, I want to find out more about this metal, but it's possibly putting people in danger every time I come into contact with this. And so I would say change chardalyn to be whatever you want it to be, rather than just some D10 table of madnesses. Give your players something to latch onto. And I was just saying that was Asmodeus's voice talking to all these people at once, or maybe Asmodeus's devils below him going out and talking to these people whenever they got in close contact with this metal. Next is going to be to find time for this event. This is obviously something that the Duergar have been leading up to. I have made my group aware that something was happening through the phrase, pray through the day for it comes at night, look up at the skies and see destruction's light. Big kind of, the book only shows it once or twice. Every time the group met a Duergar outpost, as they killed the Duergar would be whispering that in Dwarvish or Undercommon under their breath, as a mantra as they died. And the group started realizing, hey, I think there's something going on here, and it's not great. I think whatever Destruction's Light is not going to be good for us. Most of my parties, this is when I go to the things that I wish I would have done better. This is one of the things. most of all of my parties thought that the Dwergar were tied to Aril, because destruction's light. They see this aurora borealis, northern lights, every time they go to bed. That link was made between almost all of my parties, and they said, oh, the Dwergar have to be working with Aril. And then there was almost a little letdown when they weren't. When they found out that the Dwergar were just Dwergar and that they were nothing, most of my groups were kind of like, oh, all right, sure. Dwergar are still kind of enforcing, because the Dwergar really don't have any tie to Aril whatsoever. So I wish I would have maybe thrown a couple of checks out there for my group to figure out, or maybe make Dwergar tell them, like, say something along the lines of, no, we aren't here on behalf of Aril. We're here to capitalize on what she's created. Something along those lines is what I would have done a little bit better. But as I was saying, find time for the event. You want your group to become happy with 10 towns. You want them to settle in. You want them to form bonds, form relationships. One of the things I made sure I did before I ever started Chapter 3, which is Sunblight, is I made sure that they had a base of operations somewhere. I even made them pick a 10 town and saying, all right, you guys, these killings are going on. You can't be absent from the killings, so you have to pick a town to set up residency in. Most of the groups, they went this place, went that place. They started really liking their town. I showed growth of that town, saying, oh, well, since you guys got here and you've been helping out the townsfolk, population has risen. You guys see smiles on everyone's faces. And then that's the perfect time to hit your group with something like Destruction's Light. So find a good moment for it. Let them explore the outreaches of Icewind Dale. I probably did somewhere between 3 to 5 quests outside of the 10 towns is when I hit them with, hey, there's the Sunblight Fortress. You need to go to it. It's a massive mission. If you can set it up, if all your dominoes align, what I would recommend is trying to get one of the Sunblight, the family of Sunblight, if your group goes to the Dwarven Valley. Having one of them tell the group as kind of a bargaining chip, I'll tell you where the leader of our group is, right as he's about to die or something. That's the best way to do it. Another group, I just said, all right, your speaker has captured a Dwergar. They're torturing them. We need you guys to come in, extract the information. Group came in, kind of like an interrogation scene. We let that intimidation check go off, which is not used super often in D&D because of the possibility of the fail, right? So that was kind of fun. That would be the only thing I would say is you don't want to tell your group that this is happening and then let your group go and do 15 other quests, because then that defeats the purpose. This is one of the more, probably the only time-sensitive quest in the whole book. The next thing I would say is when your group gets up to the fortress, there does take a certain amount of preparation on the DM for this. It's not just, oh, I've read through the book, I'll be good. No, this takes in-game preparation. And I'm going to bring you over here to kind of my notes, and I'm going to show you what I did. So I have a couple of things here. I've got the fortress where I have given my little rundown of what I need to remember about every room. But the most important thing I did for my preparation for the Destruction's Light was I did this over here, which is going to be my timeline. So I did a little thing where, and I hope that you guys can see it in the video version, I put a timeline for the dragon. So this is his flight time to Dugan's Hole, his new time after he got to Dugan's Hole, how long it takes him to destruct Dugan's Hole, and then his new total time after he leaves Dugan's Hole. And then I did that for Goodmeat. I did it for all the 10 towns up until he gets back to Sunblight 46 hours later. So I will know where the dragon will be how many minutes after he has left the fortress where the group sees him. So when the group sees him, I started a mental timer, right, of how long the group is in-game, how long they're taking. And then I said, all right, now I'm going to know where my dragon is at all times. I also came down here and I wrote how long it takes the group to get to these locations. And so to Dugan's Hole is 6 hours. To Goodmeat's 8 hours, because if the group's got a decision to make of where they want to go. So this was super helpful for me. And then I even kept active notes if I wanted to write down, kind of correspond my group's time to where the dragon was. And then lastly, I had a little chart here of the location, the destruction, what it looks like. So what collapsed, and then how many deaths. And the book gives you a good outline, actually a really good outline of like, hey, here's a recommendation of who dies, how many people die. I would set that in stone relatively good, but I would also let your group not decide, but let their actions sway how many people live or die. I would up that number a little bit. Like Dugan Hole only has 48 people. Everyone died in my campaign if you don't go to Dugan Hole first. So yeah, a lot of that stuff was a lot of fun. I put a lot of important NPCs on the line, and I think that this is a great chapter, one of my favorite chapters I've ever ran. One of the small things I'd recommend doing is letting them know the decision when they see the dragon for the first time. Let them know they have a decision to make. They are at Sunblight's doorstep. They could walk in there and kill him. However, they see this dragon. I told all of my groups, you see a dragon, you get scared that the dragon might be coming for you, and then you relax when you realize he's flying off in the distance. But then something else kicks in when you realize he's heading towards the 10 towns. You know what Destruction's light is now. It is coming for the 10 towns, and you have a decision to make. Most of my groups decided to go on into Sunblight. Very well. It's totally up to them, totally their decision. But make sure that they know it's a decision. I would hate for your group to go, okay, there's a dragon, cool. He created a dragon, let's just go kill him. And then come to the 10 outs and then realize and be like, oh, that's not fair. I wish I would have known that we should have been a little quicker. Another thing I did is I killed all their mounts if they got an axe beak, and I made them park it down at the bottom of the mountain because an axe beak can't climb up a mountain. A dog sled can't either. And then when they got down there, I said that the dragon's breath had scorched them all and killed them. All of my groups went, oh, it's that moment for your group of, oh, that was our hope to get back to the 10 towns quickly. Lo and behold, that is also a great, great moment to introduce a main character in our campaign, Velen Harpel. She comes in the nick of time saying, oh, I have dog sleds that you can take. Here, take my dog sleds. My kobolds can walk. And then your group immediately forms a bond and forms a liking to Velen, who helps them in a time of need. The next thing I would say to all DMs that are running this chapter, it sounds daunting. It looks daunting. I would tell you to not be scared as a DM. Don't be scared to kill a lot of people in 10 towns. Your group has to play this well, or else this could go very, very badly. If your group can't even catch up, if they're playing catch up to this thing, he could destroy the 10 towns, head back to Sunblight. If your group didn't take out Sunblight, which is a tough task anyway, a group of 5 people going up against almost 40 plus enemies, that dragon very well might make his way back to the group, back to the 10 towns in the next couple of days or weeks. I would tell you to not be scared. Beat your group over the head with this. As a DM, it's okay to do that every once in a while until your group figures out a way to handle it. This is meant to exhaust them as a group. They have had it relatively easy with the quests up until this moment. And a lot of your groups are probably going to be wondering, what's the main quest? What are we doing here? Especially if they haven't learned about spoiler, things like Yithrin. They're going to kind of be going, what are we doing here in 10 Towns? And then this is going to hit. And this should be that kind of midpoint in the story where you knock them down a peg and you make them realize that they are helpless when it comes to these 10 towns. That's what I did. I built them up as almost saviors. Most of my groups were relatively good aligned, or at least they were doing the quests, helping people out. So the 10 towns loved them. The 10 towns almost put them on a pedestal. And then this dragon made its way and just desolated everything in the 10 towns. Great moment in their journey. And then the next thing I would say is, don't be scared. Don't be scared to kill a couple of NPCs that your group really likes, to show them that this was serious. Especially if your group has done something to kind of shrug this off to the side. If your group did not kill one of the outposts of the Dwergar, that outpost of Dwergar should absolutely go and assassinate someone important in your campaign, especially if it's someone that your group likes. That's kind of what I'm talking about. One of my groups decided to give peace to the Dwergar. Said, all right, we're not going to kill you. We're going to leave you here. Just stop stealing people's stuff. And they went, okay. I think it was Trovis and Karagona or something along the lines. And they made peace with the Dwergar. That's a mistake in my book. And then that group of Dwergar came, and that guy assassinated Trovis, someone the group really liked. So that's kind of what I mean of don't be scared. You've still got a lot of campaign left, and your group will be just fine, and this is going to knock them on their butt, and you'll learn a little bit of respect as a DM when you go through this. So time management, don't be scared, set up the event. The final thing I wanted to say here is make change after this event. This is Icewind Dale's version of an apocalypse, right? Or I should say 10 Towns version of an apocalypse. You've got these 10 towns that have very little militia trying to defend a dragon made of demonic metal. After that event, especially with the massive amounts of people that die, you're going to see a different version of the 10 towns, whatever that looks like. For example, in my group, Caer Dineval was kind of infested by these devil worshippers, and so what I said that this devil worshippers decided, hey, we don't want to be part of 10 towns anymore. Now it's the 9 towns. Well, 9 towns. Dugan Hole was completely wiped out. All 48 or 50 people died. Now it's 8 towns. The speaker of East Haven in most of my campaigns, unless the group decided to go there first, is killed. Okay. And then the group and then East Haven decides, hey, we don't need a speaker. We're a group of rogues and thieves and bandits. We're just going to do our own thing. Now you're down to 7 towns. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Before this event, you got 10 towns that, were cold, but were working. After this event, we have 7 towns, and trade is all crazy. Trade is all wonk. And so for my group, it was definitely there was a very clear before 10 towns, before Destruction is Light, and an after Destruction is Light 10 towns. And that'll make this event feel cataclysmic, even if you kind of mess it up as a DM. I mean, we're not perfect as DMs, and sometimes we go, I wish I would have done that a little better. You can make it feel bigger than it was by just saying, well, now Lonelywood, their whole forest was burnt down, so they don't have the production anymore, and so now they're spiraling into the ground. Small stuff like that. The meadery was destroyed. That was Goodmead's main source of income. Without it, their people have become barbarians, and they're trying to get anything to get a drink. They're infesting taverns of local towns. Your group's just going to go, oh my gosh, what is going on? I want that old 10 town back. And if you have the right group that will put the 10 towns on their back and say, we're going to make it through this, which I have one, and then they carry the 10 towns out of this, by the end of the campaign, you can get 10 towns to something that looks good. You can have that monologue at the end of a campaign that all DMs dream of, having the perfect monologue at the end of the campaign that makes the group realize they came on this wild journey. This is one of the steps in your journey to do that as a DM, is kind of show them, oh, yeah, well, months ago, the 10 towns were 7 towns, and they were distraught, but you guys have brought Sun back, and now they're okay because of all these things you've done. Those would be my recommendations if you're ever going to run Destruction's Light. Prep, set up the chardalyn, make it whatever you want. This is your campaign. You can make the chardalyn speak to them. You can make it not. Whatever you want. Find time for the event. Find a good time in the group's break when they've explored a little bit that they're going to do this. Make that decision obvious. Don't be scared to kill people, kill mounts, kill whatever you need to make them realize that they are not in control in this situation whatsoever, and then make it feel like the world has changed afterwards. Those would be my recommendations. Do whatever you want. Definitely drop a comment for what you did and how it went in your group. I'd love to hear about it. And until the next time, roll on, gamers.